Right now, somewhere, someone is staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. They've been awake for an hour, maybe 2.
Their phone says 3:17 and they have to be up at 6, and they are doing the math in their head, the desperate shrinking math of how many hours are left if they fall asleep right now, okay now. And the number keeps getting smaller and the anxiety keeps getting larger. And somewhere in the back of their mind, a voice is saying, something is
wrong with you.
Nothing is wrong with you. In fact, what is happening to you at 3 a.m. has a name. It has a history. And that history is going to change the way you spend every sleepless night for the rest of your life. In 2001, historian A. Roger Eckertz published a paper that quietly broke something open in the science of sleep.
He had spent 16 years going through historical documents, diaries, court records, medical texts, literature from medieval Europe and beyond. And what he found over and over in sources spanning centuries and dozens of languages was a reference to something called first sleep and second sleep. Not one block of sleep, 2.
People would go to bed around 9 or 10 at night. They'd sleep for 3 or 4 hours. Then they would wake up, naturally, completely, without alarm, without anxiety, without the sense that anything had gone wrong. They would lie there or get up for an hour or 2, and then they would sleep again until morning. This was not insomnia.
This was the schedule. What did they do in that middle hour? They talked. Couples lying in the dark, having the kind of conversations that only happen when the world is quiet and the defenses are down. Neighbors visiting each other, sitting in candlelight, not because anything was wrong, but because the middle of the night was simply a time for being together. They prayed. Medieval prayer manuals included specific guidance for the waking hour between sleeps. It was considered the ideal time for reflection, for closeness to God, for the thoughts that the noise of daytime wouldn't allow. They had sex. Physicians of the era actually recommended it. The body was warm, relaxed, unhurried. They thought, they processed. They let the mind do the slow, wandering work that sleep itself had started and that waking could continue. The dark middle of the night was not a problem to be solved. It was a room in the house of sleep that everyone knew how to use. So what happened? Gaslighting, then electric light. Then the Industrial Revolution, which decided that human beings should sleep in one efficient block, like a machine powering down, so they could be ready to work at a fixed hour. The 2-sleep pattern didn't disappear because it was unhealthy. It disappeared because it was inconvenient. And then we forgot it had ever existed. And then we built an entire medical category, sleep maintenance insomnia, the clinical term for waking in the night and being unable to return to sleep immediately, around a perfectly natural biological event that we had simply stopped making room for. Psychiatrist Thomas Weir at the National Institute of Mental Health demonstrated this directly. He took a group of people and extended their nightly darkness to 14 hours, removing artificial light, removing the pressure of a fixed schedule. Within weeks, without being told to, without any instruction at all, they began sleeping in 2 separate shifts, with a 1 to 2 hour waking period in between. The old pattern came back on its own, like a language the body had never forgotten. Here is what Eckertz found people felt during that middle hour, in document after document, across centuries. They described it as a kind of stillness that didn't exist at any other time of day. A softness in the mind, a feeling of being present without being demanded of. People wrote about it not as a gap in their rest, but as a feature of it, something they looked forward to, something that made them feel more themselves. The French called it Dorvée, a word that doesn't translate cleanly into English, somewhere between sleeping and waking. A state of half-dream, half-thought, where the mind moves slowly and makes strange, true connections it can't make in full daylight. Artists knew this state. Scientists knew it.
Thomas Edison, who paradoxically destroyed the two-sleep pattern for millions of people with his light bulb, famously napped in a chair holding steel balls in his hands, so that the moment he drifted into that threshold state and his hands relaxed, the balls would drop and wake him, and he could capture whatever the half-sleeping mind had produced.
That hour you spend awake at 3 a.m., when your thoughts go strange and slow and you think about things you haven't thought about in years, that is not your brain malfunctioning. That is your brain doing something it was designed to do, in a room you were never told existed. There is a particular cruelty in what we've done to the sleeping body.
We took a natural waking, something that comes with its own built-in calm if you know what it is, and we surrounded it with alarm clocks and work schedules and the blue light of phones showing us how few hours remain. We turned Dorvée into dread.
We took a room and filled it with the feeling that you were already behind, already failing, already broken before the day has even started. The waking itself was never the problem. The story we built around it was. Tonight, if you wake at 3 a.m., you have options that people in the 14th century understood and that we somehow forgot.
You can lie there and let your mind move, not force it back to sleep, not pick up your phone, not do the math. Just exist in the dark the way your body is asking you to. You can turn to the person beside you, if there is one, and say something true, the kind of thing that only comes out in the dark.
You can think about the thing you haven't let yourself think about, the slow, circling thought that daytime is too loud to hold. You are not awake because something is wrong with you.
You are awake because you are human, because your body is ancient, because somewhere under all the electric light and the optimized sleep schedules and the alarm set for 6 a.m., the oldest version of you is simply doing what it has always done. It woke up. It found the night quiet. It decided to use it.
Somewhere right now, someone is putting down their phone. They've stopped doing the math. They're lying in the dark, in the silence, in the strange, slow warmth of the hour between sleeps. They thought they were broken. They were just ancient.